Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and of course everyone else of all descriptions. We have bid adieu to Stanley Greyheart Barker, but we welcome back a man of many names, many faces, and many talents. It's Alex, Lexi, or Mass1, whatever you want to call him. We call him all three on this broadcast. And we're joined once again, of course, by Samuel Initialize Hapgood for AXIZ versus DFM in the LJL Spring Split Week 3. Ladies and gentlemen, it is going to be actually a much stronger matchup than a lot of people might have predicted coming into this split, because AXIZ have come out the gates relatively hot. DFM have come out even hotter though. Lexi, as it is, you're returning back to this desk. What are your first thoughts on this matchup?
It's closer than I thought it was going to be. Even with me having a huge expectation upon these AXIZ players, I'm confident that they were going to make playoffs in some capacity, even if my predictions put them out of playoffs. But let's not look at that too much at the moment. This is a team of rookies going against Utapon and Co. And in their interview, they're like, well, they're a bunch of rookies. We're the veterans. We're proven. We're going to win. I'm kind of going with Utapon here. They're 5-0. Like, there is not a reason to doubt DFM, especially with Arya being able to do 1v1 combat against Gadiadu and win as Seraphine. I rest my case.
You rest your case, and DFM rested healthy 5-0, standing within the LJL so far this split. But Sam, if AXIZ were going to win, one of the ways we talked about it with other teams is maybe you just got to hit them early. Do you think AXIZ have the correct tools to maybe do that?
They do, because where their strengths are lying at the moment are where potentially you can catch DFM off. KAZU has been a great playmaker. Some of his team fight engages have been genuinely superb. We saw it in the last game where he manages to flash over the wall to catch Gadiadu out as he's about to blast cone. We saw it last week when he finds the turnaround rel engage. The problem is, in that same rel game, he also went 0-6 earlier on because he kept getting caught out in dodgy places, overstepping a little bit and finding himself murdered by the likes of Galio catching him out. And when for AXIZ, you've got Honey and Nemo, who have been really, really, really popping off in recent weeks. Honey's stats and kill scores have been just out of this world. The Tristana game in particular coming to mind, where he went 10-1-9, I think, if memory serves correctly, could prove dangerous in that bot lane. If you can punish KAZU, who has occasionally had some of these micro oversteps, which Honey and Nemo are bloodthirsty enough to potentially punish.
And speaking of punishing, and there has been a punishing split already for a great many teams. AXIZ among them, as they did lose to V3 last week. They did pick up a win versus the Rascal Jess, is another team which has been relatively high coming on to this split on as well because of their first couple of weeks of performance. Lexi, I do want to hit once again onto what Sam's been saying about Honey versus Utapon. This is not a matchup. If you talked about this in spring last year, would be like, oh yeah, it's going to be the marquee matchup. It is for this game, though, is it?
Probably is, realistically. I mean, it's either Honey or you go to Megumin. And I'll be honest, that they're the kind of two that I will always hyper-focus onto, as I think they're the most interesting players currently showcased on the side of AXIZ. Don't get me wrong, Hogler, tried and true and tested. The reason I think this is so important is we saw a rookie coming into their debut of Archer on V3 Esports. He beat Utapon in the finals to go to Worlds. This is incredibly important because if Honey on their second year, after their rookie debut as well, also in the LJL, having a disappointing performance, getting this confidence, he's definitely playing with more vigor that we saw towards the end of summer, and I expect that to continue, and I think this is why that lane is going to be so important. Though mid lane might be interesting, as we've got a Z main versus the man of many faces, or every face of every league champion.
That's absolutely something to hit on. So, honestly, across the board, we have some interesting matchups, but I guess we're going to go closer and closer towards that pick and ban phase. So, now it has to come down to predictions. I know some people in our Discord community, and you should totally join it, by the way, the link's below this stream, have predicted maybe AXIZ will be the team to beat DFM's unbeaten run. Predictions. Initially, I was going to go to you first. Who are you thinking is going to take this game on the day?
I think it's still DFM, but I'm quite excited to see whether AXIZ can punish in that bot side.
And Alexi, just before we go to pick and bans.
It's got to be DFM.
Gotta be DFM. Gotta be you two casting this game. I will bid you farewell for now. Best of luck with the cast.
Thank you so much, Nymera. It is indeed my first time today onto the caster desk, which I'm very excited about. I am joined by Masked Swans. It's good to have you back. And DFM onto the blue side once more, and it's Ebby, Steel, Arya, Utapon, and Kazu still maining their roster.
It's Inon in the top lane, Hoglet, Megumin, Honey, and Nihon in the bot. So, coming out, first few picks and bans, Seraphine immediately getting taken off. Arya's not allowed that anymore. No, initialize. He keeps winning with the mid lane Seraphine, so hey-ho, that's it. Gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it decided that Talia, that Pantheon, two of those globals that just don't want to deal with the DFM right now. And Hoglet has actually been a pretty damn good player over the last few weeks. They get rid of his Udyr as well, really trying to punish into Hoglet's champion pool here. And I wonder whether DFM have a jungler in mind if they're banning out all three of those.
That's interesting. I mean, Hoglet has been known to play a lot of random junglers throughout the history of
Has
him
indeed.
playing professionally, so I don't want to index too hard on one thing. Lilia is still available, Hecarim is still available, there's multiple champions still around. Obviously, though, a jungle pick will kind of tell us a bit of information on the direction that DFM, or maybe they're trying to hedge their bets against AXIZ in their standard thing. They're going towards that Olaf in the jungle, and that's locked in. Okay, so exactly as you said, initialized, they wanted a jungler and they were trying to engage as best they could onto it.
Yeah, absolutely. They get the Olaf. DFM have definitely gone towards that first pick a number of times before. Steel has had good games on it. It's his most played this split, I believe. And now we have to see what AXIZ want to pick into it. Could be something like the Nidalee, I suppose, hovering the Graves right now as well.
Yeah, I'm less of a fan of the Graves. Honestly, if you this is why they did this exactly what they did. They are gonna lock in the Graves. I would have actually been more of a fan of something a bit different like the Rek'Sai, but hey, we haven't got Rascal Jesters playing at the moment. We've got AXIZ. This is Hoglet, so we're getting the Gnar Graves. Not really wombo combo. It's a bit more neutered in comparison to what Nidalee, Renekton can do. But hey, we're working with what we got at the moment.
Yeah, Gnar has definitely been a fairly consistent option. It was getting punished a little earlier on in the split, but it feels like Gnar's become a lot more stable over recent weeks, where people have kind of worked out how they want to play around it a little bit more. Things like Gnar bars and laning correctly can sometimes take a little while to get a hold of on that, but Inno will get a hold of it, see what he can do with it. On the other side, DFM go back to Rel. Get early this time. Kazu last week found some amazing engages in the late game. See whether he can pull it off again this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this support pick, I imagine we're going to be seeing the response for Evie in the top lane. Obviously, his little yordle has been taken away from him, so he's going to be mad about this now. So what are we going to see from Evie in response to this? Actually, no. DFM deciding to allow bans to happen in that top lane, make the matchup slightly better for their top laner, and they're actually going to pick up the Kai'Sa before the second rotation of bans. It does make total sense. Kai'Sa is one of the highest presence in the LJL and just worldwide in general. Arguably the best AD carry at the moment in the game, so locking that Kai'Sa and securing that for the side of Detonation FocusMe before we come into the next round of bans, whether they can ban 2 AD carries and really make the matchup even better, especially because AXIZ decided not to take their AD carry. They really wanted to get that Alistair as we come into the second rotation of bans, and now I'm wondering how many more bans can you throw at Arya? Is it really worth it?
I mean, and for DFM as well, you can see the AD carry bans like flying out already. It'll be like Xayah will be off the table. Jhin will likely be off the table. Or even like just go for the Samira or the Tristana as well, right? That Honey has definitely gone towards those before. Production also pointed out that the Kai'Sa Rel is the lane that DFM just beat as they ban away the Tristana that Honey looked so scary on last time. So I suspect we'll see that continuing AD carry focus as AXIZ have decided instead to index towards Ebby's champion pool and try and cut down some of the matchups into the Gnar. They've got rid of the Renekton, they've got rid of this Gangplank, both really good weak side laners that can play pretty well into things like the Gnar. And I wonder whether something like, of course, the Camille's already off the table, so maybe even the Jax or the Gragas might be an option. Appears to be a missed ban. Don't know whether that's because there's no profile picture or something up, or there's been a bit of a bug, but either that's a visual bug, or they've missed a ban of AXIZ, and that's a concern.
We normally get a ban. I'm assuming it's a visual bug. Unless DFM don't ban here, then that might be a complete bug, and we're going to have to remake this whole thing. Not the first time I've ever seen it.
Not the first time.
But
there's the Xayah ban, so it's looking pretty standard thus far. I think AXIZ have just made a mistake.
Or they're going to just do a ban in the background and we just don't know it because unofficial English casting here, we don't know every little thing and it can be incredibly difficult for us to do it, even if production's like trying to listen in and get random ones. Honey, though, playing Vayne, and I
Oh, yes.
think this is their first time ever playing Vayne in a professional game.
OG Vayne versus Space Vayne. I am so ready for this bot lane debacle that is sure to ensue. Kaiser and Vayne definitely known for their ability to make some plays, or, make some plays, read int instead of plays. We'll see what DFM want to lock in. They've hovered the Akali a number of times, and they will lock it in. Ebby has already played it top. We know Arya plays it as well. That could go in a number of places, and DFM are already coming to play here with some of their options.
Well, you know how it's not going top, and you know how I know it's not going top because it's not Ignite.
True.
Teleport. That's how I know. That's how I know. This will actually be Honey's first game. I did quickly have a Google of that, and it is indeed with the Akali being hovered. The Akali already picked, and now with this Zoe being hovered, yeah, we're going to be seeing the Akali go into that top lane, Zoe into the mid lane, and they are giving Megumin full counter pick opportunity. What do you have, Megumin? What have we not seen? What have I not seen from you? I'm very interested here. There's a few options here. Typically, control mages like Syndra and Orianna are picked into this kind of spot because you can get away with it.
Speaking of control mages,
Victor coming out longest range out of most of the control mages with his Q poke. So it's going to be important that they actually can get some pressure and maybe prevent Arya from doing their textbook roaming that we always see from them in almost every game. The other part is going to be Ebby hasn't got Gnar and has gone for an assassin. This is going to be a bloodbath in the top lane. I guarantee you initialize. Or Ebby hasn't played it correctly, which then we can we can be confused at Ebby for.
The thing is, it could go either way, because obviously there is a Vayne and an Alistair on this bot side, which I'm sure AXIZ would love to get ahead, whereas DFM are like, well, we kind of want to play around this AXIZ top lane, get this Akali ahead, and I could see a world where either or both of those things happen simultaneously, and we get a bloodbath across the map. A little bit of a note from production here as well. What do you reckon Arya's KDA is on Zoe?
On Zoe, I mean, the man didn't die often, even in the games that they lost when he played Zoe. So I'm guessing it's something like he would have died a few times. So it'd be like something high, but not crazy. I'm going to go 7.5. I'm going to go 7.5 KDA.
He is at 9.9 KDA on the Zoe. That's not bad. But on the other hand, what do you think his win rate is? What his game to loss record is?
See, this is where I think it goes way down. It's got to be like, how many games did he play? Am I allowed to know that?
8 games.
8 games.
I'll give you that.
It's got to be. No, I'm gonna go actually really bad. He's in elo hell. I'm gonna go 2 and 6.
Ooh, close 3 and 5. Yeah, okay. It's a bit of an elo hell pick. He's 9.9 KDA, 3 and 5 on the champion though. I remember games where he was the sole member of the team doing well on the Zoe and couldn't close them out because the rest of his team was falling apart. Arya has got to be hoping here on DFM that they can not repeat that. Looking at these team comps now, though, it's another one of those games where very aggressive, very damage-heavy solo lanes, a little bit more of a defensive bot lane from DFM. On the other side, looks like some mid to late game team fights for me. Graves, Victor, Vayne with Gnar and Alistair in the front line. Pretty different comps, but who are you favoring having seen this?
So, nameplates off, I like AXIZ's draft. I actually think I prefer it.
Sure.
The Akali in the top lane is just like kind of, I know what Ebby's doing, and we all know what he's doing here, and he's kind of doing exactly what Utapon was saying in his interview. He's like, we're the veterans. If they have to beat us, they've got to do it on our terms. This is Ebby's term. He's like, beat my Akali. If you can beat my Akali, then other stuff will get played. This is a statement. But nameplates on, I just have to go back to DFM every single time. Like Kazu, even though I've had concerns with him as a player, his rel has been solid. He will find that 1 or 2 ult in the game and just DFM win. And they just win through it. King Kazu is back, ladies and gentlemen, and he's here with a vengeance to show he's not just a coach that can come out of retirement 3 times. Name anybody else that can do it as many times as him and then still look this good in the LJL. Please,
there's quite a lot of crowns that DFM have to their name, in fairness. So it's not just Kazu who's looking to ensure the reign of DFM continues, or rather is rekindled, obviously, after Summer went away from them. Bit of a note, actually, from a friend of ours in the Discord, Sergio Porro, a bit of a shout out there, who was given us confirmation that AXIZ lost a ban because of a timeout. So I think they just ran out of time by the sounds of it.
Jeez, that's
It's
that's
not the best look.
It's pretty rough. But like, I doubt Axis are gonna ban the Akali, right? Like, it's very difficult to be like, oh yeah, Ebby's just gonna pick the Akali. We know Ebby has played this Akali a few times before, but it's not the kind of pick that you're going to go, oh yes, nah, we're going to immediately go for it. So I can't sign off on it.
All right, well, we will have to wait and see how it plays out, but we are coming on to the rift for Detonation FocusMe versus AXIZ. I am very excited. A lot of mercurial lanes. Arya on his infamous Zoe. Ebby on his infamous Akali. Hell, Kazu on that infamous Rel. Both incredible and poor players over there. On the other side, though, that is Vayne for Honey, who has been so good, man. Like, I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am to see about whether he can pop off against some seriously difficult opposition. Of course, not necessarily the easiest game for Vayne, quite short range, and has got to try and keep safe against an Akali who'd love to dive onto an Olaf who she can't condemn away, and keep range from the likes of a Zoe, who's definitely got a bit of a range advantage versus that Vayne. So see how Honey can play out those mid-game teamfights, because it could get quite tricky.
It's going to be incredibly tricky. Olaf is just going to be able to get into their face. If Arya lands a sleepy trouble bubble, she's over. Like, he doesn't have cleanse. He's gone heal, which I think is a mistake, honestly. With this much kind of like CC with Rel, with Arya, there's just even though those are like soft CC, if you don't do it enough, you're going to be over. Blitzcrank bot also agrees with me. He's DFM focused, and I have to agree, it does feel favored DFM, even though I do like the draft out of Axis. There's a lot of fundamental problems that if they fall slightly behind, DFM are going to steamroll, and it could be very scary. However, Axis have the ability, if they get to the late game, Ebby's going to stop dealing a lot of damage to Eno, especially...
Oh, they're jumping in early. Well, Nemo, though, did come up with a decent pulverize there to interrupt Kazu. We've seen that before in the last game. Happens here, though. Honey going very low versus Udamon. The plasma sacks won't come out, but trades across from both of these AD carries who are very aggressively fighting for control over this bot wave.
And this is going to be just the nature of it, because I believe, if anything, it's only 50 extra range that Kai'Sa has over Vayne, but that 50 range, it doesn't need to be much longer. Yeah, it's significant enough that it will just punish her, and Honey's going to have an absolute awful time like you identified. Arya getting a deep ward in, but not quite deep enough to get the pathing of Hoglet, though they have to expect that he is going to be around that kind of area. Actually, it did get pinged with a red ping, so potentially Axis are aware that a ward got placed, and they just didn't get seen on it, which actually is a really nice thing. Obviously, this bot lane is going to keep pushing up, and important to note, all of the lanes of DFM are pushing, meaning Hoglet, you're going to have to do some ganking, and Steel, you can keep farming, and this is both junglers finishing their first rotation. If anything, though, Hoglet is significantly behind because Steel is already on his Gromps. And this is just going to allow him to keep the pressure going because he's going to be able to get first Rift out, first Scuttle Crab probably on this bot side. Hoglet's going to take the top side.
Yeah, of course. Ebby does have to be a little bit wary of the Graves being on top side, especially if, he overextends a little. He is running the Flash this time, no Ignite, you'll notice, which is a shame for all of us, I'm sure. But he's got that ward in river and is likely fairly safe. And you're right, this Olaf has got out to a nice early lead. He's going to get onto the Scuttle Crab down here. Will kind of have that slight edge up in tempo as Graves has moved over to his Krugs. That's a better way of phrasing that. And leaves things as pretty stable right now. Nothing super scary to witness either way. And right now, it's just lanes as they stand, pretty even across the board.
Yeah, everywhere's pretty even with that huge wave crashing in that bot lane. Utapon just wasn't able to get it hard enough into this bot lane with Kazu. Not having an Enchanter's support can mean crashing a wave in to really punish an AD carrier that's struggling to farm under turret. It's going to be a lot harder because Honey's going to have that opportunity. Kazu isn't going to be able to do that. However, is able to currently crash their own wave back in, and we're just going to be seeing ping pong a lot until these junglers get in, because a lot of these laners don't have kill pressure unless someone comes and helps them. However, Ebby thinks differently to me.
Yeah, he's getting some good autos. Actually gets a massive shuriken flip as well. Does miss the 5-point strike though, so can't flash for the kill. does get Inno to back, though, and of course, maybe he was looking for it relatively soon after the shove-in anyway, but that's not the prettiest look for the Gnar in this top lane.
Not pretty at all. And man, I don't know if he had quite enough energy even if he landed that Q because it was so low. But I mean, Ebby's showing that even at level 4, he's perilous. What was also worth noting is look at this. He's just going to set up a freeze. He can just set up a freeze here. And now, you're in the worst spot in this game now because you went from a lane that was doing perfectly fine. It would have crashed in. You just had to escort it into the lane. The problem is you tried to get aggressive onto Ebby and he punished you, and now Steel's looking to try and find something, but both junglers are just going to say hello to each other and probably pass by in the wind, as we're just going to keep seeing more of this. I mean, they're coming down bot lane, but I don't think they're going to get anything.
Yeah, they're not, and it's pretty even aside from in that top lane where Ebby's just had, walk back to lane, decided not to teleport because of where the wave was, but every time Inno walks up, especially with where his Mega Gnar bar is at, Ebby throws down that Shroud and starts autoing and zoning Inno off the wave. It's something that Ebby has been so good at. Think back to last season when set level 1s and 2 were Ebby's bread and butter. He got the level 6, now looking for that kill, hops forward, lands a shuriken, looking for the perfect execution. Hasn't quite found it yet, needs to get it, and will get the solo kill. He'll go down under tower, but that was clean from Ebby.
He autoed the tower. Ebby, what were you doing?
That's what happened.
Did you not change your mouse bindings, Gebby?
Oh.
That was so good and yet so bad at the same time.
Hoglet's actually here, but remember, Ebby's got Flash, so it's probably quite difficult to get a hold of here. The home guard buff is there, and Ebby will probably take that all the same, though, because Inno was still kept off the wave, and Ebby didn't lose any farm. It wasn't like the minions were under wave, so I think it's probably okay. But I kind of agree, right? Like, he saves the Flash, he gets the solo kill, but it wasn't as clean as he might have liked. Ebby, though, has roamed down looking to get onto Hoglet, who has at least hit 6 now, so that might make things a bit tricky. Lands the Shuriken flip, but I don't think he wants it, but the moment I say that, Ebby goes in and gets an auto 5-point strike trade, and it's DFM up about 400 gold off that first blood, but little else to write home about right now.
Doing that was pretty awful for Ebby. He had to burn his teleportation, which was just not something he wanted to do. He wanted to escort this wave in, crash it, and then he can just recall back.
Flash out from Honey as Kazu went in, so Flash for Flash, but I think Vayne without a Flash is a significantly more juicy prospect, but of course, Rel and Kazu have been punished before, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, this is Hexaflash, so it's even less valuable to Kazu. He's incentivized to use it on some regular basis, and oh god, even with your level advantage at the moment, it doesn't matter. So you're just going to take so much punish from Ebby, because early game, Noah can't do much about this, as now he does tick over to 7, and I am interested to see how much further this lead can go for Ebby, because he is punishing this rookie top laner.
Yes, but then there was a good little Hyperproc plus Boomerang Blade to make things a bit tricky, but DFM's Arya and Steel now coming over with the Blast Cone, and Inno needs to be afraid. Doesn't have Flash, but will have Mega Gnar shortly. That will be the Paddle Star missing, though, so Inno can try and outplay this. Needs to be afraid to DFM of this Mega Gnar, but they're going to go in. There's the Ragnarok. There's the damage. There is no chance for the Mega Gnar to come through. Steel gets to walk out, and now Arya might be in a spot of bother, but lands, I think, the Sleepy Trouble bubble. Collateral damage comes out, but the Ignite now burning. Ebby looking forward to try and get the kill. Ignite burning. Will miss the Shuriken flip, but Ebby's going to get a last auto and will walk out, and DFM get 2 in the top side without losing a single man.
That is clean stuff from the side of Detonation FocusMe. Ebby, I was a little bit worried, and it seems like the members of AXIZ will just stand behind the turret. He'll auto attack the turret once, but didn't do it this time around. 2 clean kills over to the side of Detonation FocusMe, and in all fairness, that was everything going on to Ebby. I would have liked to have seen one of the kills if they could have helped it go onto one of the other members of either Olaf or Zoe, but hey, having an Akali super fed early on. Oh, and the fact that it's a little player known as Ebby, that's only going to help them further. I hope they don't take this turret down in the top lane, though, with all of this, with the
fight in the bot lane as Nemo just gets deleted. Using that Magnet Storm to cause chaos, and the cow is brought up for a very iron-tasting steak.
And what can we say except you're welcome from the side of Detonation FocusMe? Oh, God, Ari, you're fishing for Megumin, and you weren't far off of that one. That was really well played by Kazu. They just kind of understood everything. They understood the lane dynamic, and they just pushed and punished in an opportunity where the Alistair was far too ahead. They didn't have 6, and that's the most important part of this.
I just so nearly interrupted. I thought that was quite nice, but it wasn't quite enough. It was just a touch too late. Of course, that last 0.5 seconds of the recall, you can't interrupt people, however much damage you throw down. And Honey did manage to back away. Worth pointing out as well that while all this is going on, DFM have got 4 kills to 1, but they've also got first Herald and first Drake. So they are very much in command here at the 10-minute mark. They've got a 2,000 gold lead already, and it's on to the likes of this Akali, right? And Inno went for a Hex Drinker first, so he's a ways off that Mythic as a result. Ebby's on his way to a Leeching Lair and really not far away from that, so he'll be at the Mythic way earlier with the kill advantage. And Inno, even with that defensive item start, is in a difficult position here in this top lane.
Yeah, it almost makes you wonder, like, when your lane is going this badly, do you bother itemization for a lane that you're already losing in, or do you want to go in a different direction?
Arya's in trouble, though, just going to get deleted here by the Chaos Storm and Hoglet walking in. Arya doesn't bother burning any summoners. He knows he's in trouble. Overreach in the mid lane, and Arya's done that once or twice before.
Yeah, it's because if you look at the minimap, the side of where chickens are and the red buffer, there normally is a ward in that kind of fog of war area. There isn't any at the moment for DFM. He pushed far too far up, and they had no idea where Steel was. He hadn't shown him. They had no idea where Hoglet was. Hadn't shown himself on the map for a long time. They hadn't gone over any of the vision that DetonatioN FocusMe had, so there was no reason for him to be playing up there. As Hoglet's actually fishing for the bot lane now.
He was thinking about it a little bit there, but of course Arya does have teleport, and will now be back to start contesting the wave and pressure around this second Drake, which will be spawning in just about 10 seconds. And you can see both of these squads want to fight for priority around there. No teleport for Inno or Ebby, so they would have to roam down if they want to be involved.
DFM has double smite because Zoe picked up a smite.
That's a big one onto Mega Man. The Ragnarok is there, and Arya deletes the Victor. Return kill over to the mid laner of DFM. Vengeance for the death just moments before, and that's as the dragon is spawned, so DFM find a bit of a better timing on it.
Yeah, I mean, he uses... Ooh, though, you're finding on Ebby. They're going to just disengage that.
Yeah, nothing super crazy there. DFM, they're going to summon this Herald in mid, going to look for some plates, look for some pressure in mid, and then look to roam over to this dragon that has now gone live. Collateral damage from Hoglet gets him out to safety, but they're zoning him away from the tower. They're teleporting into the tier 2 because they can't trust themselves to hold on to this tier 1. But Mega Man is at least back. That's another good sleepy trouble bubble. Half the HP of Hoglet just disappears. DFM will get a lot of plates in that bot side as Kazu gets interrupted out of the crashdown, but there is the Magnet Storm Steel coming down. Honey in trouble. Attract, repel will not keep Kazu safe for now. He's looking to go down. Teleport comes through. Honey gets that one with the silver bullets. Ebby will be the teleport in, looking to get something up, and now the return teleport from Inno. And it's just a single kill over from AXIZ who get that one quite happily. Inno stepping forward with those hyper procs. Arya in mid lane caught under his own tower. Will not be able to get over here as quickly as he'd like. And AXIZ will start up the Drake with the man advantage.
It's a huge amount of investment of just summoners and resources that AXIZ use. They did get a kill, which actually helps a lot of the benefit through it. However, we saw teleport, heal, flash be used from Honey, teleport from Inon, just like the ignite as well from Alistair. Like, so much came out from the side of AXIZ to secure a kill and a dragon, and it's a cloud dragon. It's not like it's an ocean dragon. It's a cloud dragon, and the 10% you don't, it's so negligible what you get from it. So I'm concerned, like, how much AXIZ invested into this, even though they're still losing in arguably every lane at the moment, and I don't think this is actually changing how this works. Though it's good that they were able to find their first pick. We're on an ocean rift, which is going to make things very spicy as these dragons are going to become more and more important as the game goes on.
Hoglet's here. They're going to look for an engage on to Kazu, who does this time get to crash down and out of danger. Now, but Hoglet is in lane, looking to save this tower, which has kind of been shoved in a little bit, but at least Honey's now got the kill, which is something, right? It's this Vayne, it's this star player who's been playing so well for you in recent weeks, so maybe a little bit more can be made of this Vayne as the game goes on. It's still a 2,000 gold lead for DFM, but they haven't managed to extend it all that much further. Lot of turret plates over to DFM, though, as the turret plates have fallen.
Yeah, and that's where DFM's full advantage is really coming from. The kills are lovely, but obviously that's just 14 farm at the end of the day. It's far more important to just make sure you get an advantage. And the tower plating, the turret plating is the most important part of this. Now, if we rotate around, as you can see where Steel is going at the moment, he's pathing. He's already looking to try and invade Hoglet because he knows at the moment that Olaf at level 9 at the moment has got a power spike over this Graves. And that the side of AXIZ are going to have to back up this Graves in this top side, as the side of DetonatioN FocusMe is going to look to slowly collapse in the outer turrets of AXIZ's base and slowly push their way in as we see that Ludens coming out for Arya.
Yeah, of course, Ludens is out. We've also seen the Gore Drinker come through for Olaf and the Rift Maker for Ebby as well. So these solo laners, this jungler, are very much off to an excellent start. You can see the gold leads there as well. About 1,000 is the difference in the top lane in particular, which is a bit scary for AXIZ to contemplate, even if, of course, at least Vayne has got towards her Kraken Slayer. And as I speak about, as well as the Liandry's in for Megamin, and you can see the shield bow out for the Graves as well. It's just that half step behind, which could prove a little bit difficult. At least they'll have them as the second Herald and Spawn, and maybe they can look to contest. But you can see Honey and Nemo won't be there at the very least because they are looking to play around bot lane.
They are indeed looking to play. And with that bot lane, you just want Utapon to keep scaling up. It's going to be really important because both of these AD carries want to scale up. So it's going to be super important to see who is able to get the advantage over the other. At the moment, Utapon almost has a kill worth of CS over to him. I imagine it's not in experience. It's only going to be in gold. But hey, that's a decent chunk of change over to him. We've got Gale Force versus Kraken Slayer, which is a pretty normal difference between these two AD carries. So
Kazu's going in, but there is a 3-man there. The headbutt away will put Kazu in trouble. He put that engage at the wrong time. Hoglet counter ganks exquisitely and punishes Kazu going aggressive. In the top side, though, Inno might find himself in danger as well. He's going to have Olaf go on to him. The Ragnarok prevents the Mega Gnar away. Arya is here as well. The Paddle Star misses, though, which will keep the Gnar alive. Nemo now is in a lot of trouble in the bot side, though, as Arya went for the Gale Force, but does get to Killer Instinct away. Has to flash out, though, as Honey had the final hour running and was nearly in danger. Collateral damage comes out as well. But AXIZ get the tower in bot side, force the summoners out of Utapon.
Yeah, first tower over to AXIZ. If you asked me beforehand who I thought was getting first turret, I would have said DFM, especially when they got the first Rift Herald as well. Your percentage of getting first turret when you have first Rift Herald is just
very high,
astronomical. And AXIZ said, no, we're actually not going to allow DFM to extend their lead. Actually, we're going to close that 2k lead to 1.5k-ish. No, they just ticked over and got a bunch of gold because I think they're just eating minions.
They got the tower in top side as you were speaking about it.
Yeah, so hey, it doesn't matter. But my point remains, DetonatioN FocusMe haven't pushed their early advantage that they did get. Ebby got these 3 kills and has kind of stayed AFK in his top lane, Little Island, which is totally fine. And when they actually come out of this laning phase, which is slowly they are going to, as turrets are going down and Drake will be up in 30 seconds. So expect Ebby to be in this next straight fight, because his teleportation should be up in time. But if it's not, him going to this top lane might be a little bit curious.
Yeah, we'll find out, of course. Inno as well won't have the teleport, but has roamed down nice and early. Ebby is also going to be here, but it's a 2-0 Vayne who has managed to pick up those 2 kills onto Kazu, so that could get a little scary, and Honey has definitely run out of control in games beforehand, and he's maybe able to do it in this game too. They've not snowballed as hard as they might have liked have DFM, but that's a good bubble. It's a decent paddle star onto Inno as well, and yikes, yeah, the Alistair taken down about half HP as well. Rift Herald summoned down towards that bot lane in the Krug pit because it was running out of time, and that'll give them some pressure potentially around that bot turret in about 30 seconds or so once the Rift Herald has managed to get the wave shoved out, but Steel will roam over to this Drake and try to secure it for himself. AXIZ don't look like they're interested in contesting.
No, they're not interested in contesting. And what I love about doing the Rift Herald...
Ebby's potentially in danger. He's going to find himself in this shroud. Look where Hoglet is, though. Might have to find his way out. It's got the Shuriken flip. It's got the flash, and we'll get out for now.
Yeah, he's safe. He's safe, yeah. Yeah, okay, good. So what I like about when you throw the Rift Herald down, you can get the CS gold as the jungler. You just start passively making a few gold as if you were actually killing the minions yourself. I saw the 14 gold tick over. I was like, Oh, I see your game, Steel. You don't want to push it out. 'Cause
Wait,
you want to get
Utapon going in. Hoglet and Megamin in so much danger. The Killer Instinct is there. Gale force forwards. Ebby gets the victor. The Acathian Rain will bring down the Graves as well, and that's 2 quick kills for DFM. It's still a minute until Barons. They can't think about that, but all the while, Inno finally gets to secure this Herald, but it did get a second charge onto this tier 2, so that'll be down to about 20% HP, and DFM suddenly coming alive on the map. That's now a 3,500 gold lead after a series of plays that go in their favor.
They just find a pick here. DFM are just playing around the map really, really well. Think about what just happened over the last few minutes. It was all just Steel going, hey, I'm going to push this Rift Herald. We're going to push through mid lane. We're going to get this Dragon. We're going to push our AXIZ off of this. And while this is happening, look at where Steel and Aria are. They're nowhere near the rest of this map, but they know that the 3 members of the side of AXIZ can't come and help them. Alistair's in the top in the base. They know that Vayne's there. They know that these 2 players are isolated. They had vision on everybody on the side of AXIZ, and they knew this was free. DFM are just so aware of what is happening through AXIZ's communication, and they're just able to break it down bit by bit. And this is how DFM typically find those leads that they need to do. Zhonya's now coming out for Akali, and Ebby is going to be so scary now because of the threat that you at least had on the Akali beforehand was like, well, if we can find a way of knocking her up, or if we can knock her into the back wall or something, either through Gnar ult or Alistair or something, or Condemn, there's so many ways to knock the Akali back, we might be able to do it. We might be able to just burst kill Ebby. That's not going to be an option anymore because of this Zhonya's Hourglass. It's going to become so difficult to kill him. And we've already kind of seen the best opportunity outside of that first kill onto Ebby now, how he's going to die. And I don't know if it's going to be even easy. I'm doing a lot of this talking because we're in a kind of a lull state and there's not much happening in Initialize at the moment.
Yeah,
so how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I'm kind of slightly disappointed to see that Ebby's run for the flash, which, you know, clearly was a mistake. Where is my Ignite on Akali again? But, you know, it does make that Akali a lot more slippery. And you mentioned the Zhonya's makes it even harder. Maybe AXIZ might just try and shove in this mid wave, but you're right. I think it is going to be a bit of downtime until this next Drake spawns, or until DFM maybe want to really push aggressively around this Baron. And that means we get to chat as Kazu, though, going to force a teleport, interestingly, out of Megamin. Kazu getting engaged up, but that is the Magnet Storm. It's pretty good. Inno will get Kazu, but now Steel and Aria looking in. Killer Instinct. Gale Force gets one man out. Honey trying to get turn it around as well, but will not get it. It's a double for Utapon. And AXIZ overstep trying to get a hold of the Horse Lady. DFM perfectly executes the cow. He'll be having steak for dinner. Ebby goes golden, buying time for his cooldowns. And now Ebby, I wonder whether that might have been a little bit of a misclick, expecting more damage. That will be Hoglet still on vision. He's got to try and run away, and I'm not sure how easy that'll be. Ebby gonna think about getting towards this. He's not got flash, but could sure can flip over the wall. He found that's not bad. We'll buy time using the quick draw out, and it's going to be the continued tales of Ebby forcing Hoglet not to be able to get over to this Baron. Rel's coming over as well, and Hoglet trying to play I'm a celebrity, get me out of it. He's in the jungle, and I don't think he wants to fight this challenge. It's not Grubs, but it'll be an Akali and an Iron Horse Lady. Iron Maiden references abound. Maybe he can try and get out. Ebby going to step forward. Can't quite get there. Has not got perfect execution. Hoglet quick draws over the wall and will survive. So quick feet, quick thinking, and does survive Ebby's Akali. But all the while, DFM did Baron. So they've got a Baron on 5 members and are looking incredibly far ahead in this game.
Absolutely. They got the Baron, and for all what it's worth, Ebby actually did exactly what he needed to do. He prevented Hoglet from doing anything for the past minute, whereas we come into this replay, we get a really weird teleportation coming from Megamin. However, the side of AXIZ actually said, we want to commit to any fight that DetonatioN FocusMe. We believe we can get Kazu down. However, the Killer Instinct comes around, and just look at where Aria is. 1, 2, 3, comes around, misses the paddle star, and actually has a tiny effect into this game until Aria then is able to zone out. The presence of what Aria was doing in that fight was far more effective and was threatening to what AXIZ actually wanted to do. He funneled them into that awkward comp, which is exactly where Ebby wanted them to be, baby, because he was able to then go ult through one side, ult through the other side, and yes, okay, he didn't get Hoglet, but what was more important? The zoning power that we saw from the side of DetonatioN FocusMe. This game was looking pretty close for the first 10 minutes. I'll be honest, but as the game keeps going on, I'm wondering if there is still a sign of hope from the side of AXIZ. We're in an 8k gold lead now for DFM, and they look so comfortable at the moment. And AXIZ is just kind of flailing around a little bit. Honey is going to be that shining hope. He's on
He
this
is the
lane.
hope,
That
yeah.
is an opportunity through him.
Maybe he does get the tower, but took a lot of damage doing so. He's got Flash. I think he should be
Mega's
safe
coming.
here with the Shroud Mega. Is coming in Hoglet now in but there's the perfect execution. Gets stunned. Does have the Zonyas, can maybe get across the wall. It's not in time. Good shutdown over onto Akali. Nicely played by AXIZ. They be taking a couple too many tower shots, pushing that tower, and tried to outplay, but it was a well-timed boulder toss to get the. Actually, it was the Mega Gnar, I apologize. That gets the kill even as the perfect execution came through. And Akali, slippery, but not slippery enough.
Not slippery enough, and part of the issue is they got the kill on Abby. They got the shutdown gold. That was 800 gold straight onto Inno. Beautiful.
Well, wait, Inno's now in trouble, though, because Unipod has the Void Seeker and will cop forwards to get a kill onto the top laner. You killed ours, we'll kill yours. And that will mean suddenly it is a 4v4 and Ebby's respawning quicker.
So just talking about the Abby thing, and the moment that Hoglet showed themselves, the side of DetonatioN FocusMe, we were able to push in through the mid lane, get the turret, and now because Utapon is that proven veteran, I'm going to keep quoting him for this game, he was just knew where Inon was. That vision helps, obviously, by the way, and gets that free kill. And now DetonatioN FocusMe get to push their advantage, and AXIZ can't fight because they lost their top laner. Really sad opportunity for AXIZ. It looked like everything was maybe on an opportunity of this is where we kind of could try and turn it around if we get a few of these good picks. It wasn't meant to be, and the side of AXIZ fall further and further behind.
Yeah, it was a nice pick onto Akali, but then Utapon turns it straight back around with a nice little pick of his own. Got a bit frustrated a couple weeks ago when Sol did exactly that to him. So he's decided to return the favor, but this time onto a Gnar. But gold lead, as you mentioned, around that 8,000 mark, or rather 7.5. Let's give that 0.5 over to AXIZ to be fair to them. But it's becoming increasingly difficult for them to get to places in this game. They're kind of down like item apiece. Yes, it is that Phantom Dancer for Vayne second, which gives us so much attack speed and can definitely be scary, but it's 3 items on Utapon's Kai'Sa, who is also really scary right now, and I'm wondering what ways back do AXIZ have in this game outside of maybe Honey finding the best team fight of his life.
5-man Gnar ult?
Not a bad shout.
That's
Take that one. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one. We'll take that, actually. That's my color caster immediately offering a decent rebuttal there. So, good call. Well, maybe,
Just trying to think of something, mate. That's why I'm here, right? Alistair, yes, thank you, production. Alistair's also another one. Big ball plays.
Yeah, I
like
could
that.
see something there. Yep. See whether he can manage to get his way onto the likes of Utapon or Arya, perhaps, get something there. Okay, so maybe there are a couple ways in, but they're kind of few and far between and require some really perfect engages. If they can stall out another 10 minutes, get Victor and Vayne to items, then maybe there's a world as well in that late game.
I would also like to preface this by saying AXIZ have to ace DFM. When they get this big line play, they have to also get the ace, because if they don't get the ace, it almost doesn't matter. DFM are going to be able to respond. They also need to hope that there's something on the map for them to get. Like, their waves need to be in a good location, or there needs to be Baron or Dragon at least to get something out of it. If they get an ace, great, but DFM are so far ahead now in gold, it's not going to be enough to actually pull AXIZ back into the game. It's just going to be an option. They need to get something more from it. So even an ace isn't going to maybe be good enough. But hey, there's an opportunity. And yeah.
I mean, that's quite an alarming caveat to make, right? That, you know, even if you get the ace, if you can't get more out of it, it makes things very scary for these guys. And, you know, even if you only get an engage and you only say get Utapon, you've still got to deal with a Zoe, an Olaf, and a Kali, who are very fed at this point as well. So AXIZ are definitely up against it right now, but again, it's been relatively quiet for the last couple minutes while objectives spawn. It's 10 seconds until this Baron, and DFM are pushing for their wave control. The 1-3-1 is in action. You can see Akali has got herself a Lichbane a couple minutes ago and is starting to shove it into the bot side. Teleports available, and DFM are holding court in this topside river, looking to make sure they can control the space coming into Baron.
I would be extremely surprised if DetonatioN FocusMe do anything until this Ocean Dragon. And I'd be even more surprised if AXIZ actually try and do a trade of the Baron for the Dragon. AXIZ actually look like they're kind of heading back. Whenever Detonation FocusMe push in a little bit, AXIZ push back reactively. They go back towards their base. They don't have many turrets for them to go back, but Steel doesn't take any damage. So Hoglet, you can auto attack Steel for a while, and he's going to be okay with that, mate.
Oh, you know, we're here at the 28-minute mark. DFM strongly in control. AXIZ trying to find some way back in, fight for some vision control. They've managed to do that a little bit in that topside river after the recalls came through from DFM, but you know, it's giving Ebby free time in the spot side where AXIZ kind of had to group up, ball up to make sure they didn't find themselves caught out, and that means more waves getting shoved in at awkward times, and DFM just undo all the hard work that AXIZ just did. They know they've seen the recalls coming through, and that maybe gives DFM a little bit of credence to start this Baron. There is still that one ward from AXIZ that's kind of a cheeky one at the back wall there in the river that's not been swept out, so at least they've got that there, so they've got a way in for Inno and for Megamin. I had my screen freeze briefly, so I'm not quite sure what's going in as Kazu goes for a bit of a shattering strike as far as I can tell.
They're just kind of farming and clearing the jungle at the moment, so it's not a huge problem. But at they're still posturing. There's not a huge amount that's happening on the screen at the moment. We're just gonna have to wait and see as I keep trying to do my radio
I'm back
commentary.
now, I think.
Are
Oh
you
no, I've got a little bit of a pause. I think that might be on our production end though, so it's fine. We've got a little bit of chat to talk over while game comes back to us. There it is.
Huge Sleepy Trouble Bottle coming out from the side of Detonation FocusMe, and then they get a kill onto Honey, who had the Trouble Bottle landed onto him. Alistair then trying to run away with Neon, ulting as well, but it's not good enough. Alistair gets absolutely destroyed by the Paddle Star, and now Steel is just hunting the rest of the members as the Detonation FocusMe are in the base of AXIZ as we go on. And I think you might be back, sir.
I am indeed back. Got to see what's going on. We got a little bit of that pause again. But yeah, looks like this game is all but over at this point. You called it there. Great bubble. Honey falls down, and that is a death knell for AXIZ. Maybe they can hold on in the base, but we're going to have to wait and see. And I'll pass it back over to you because I think I'm just a touch behind.
Absolutely. Well, Detonation FocusMe are able to force through AXIZ and get one of their Nexus turrets. However, all of the members of the side of AXIZ had recalled back to base. Honey is 1 second away from regaining health, and she is now revived herself. So now, Detonation FocusMe are turning around and looking at this dragon. This dragon will give them Dragon Soul, and Inon
has got Mega now.
Yeah, but he's already gone Mega.
So we'll see how it goes, and that will be the Ocean Drake going down. They pick that one up. And that is Ocean Soul to DFM, which is a scary prospect indeed. Baron is live, and they might well look to try and head over to that as Ebby stepping into the red side jungle. And the least AXIZ have got their members back alive, but Ebby still hunting around this back end for Hoglet, going pretty deep, but they'll pull back out and see where this goes from there.
They've got this Baron, they've got opportunities here. AXIZ have to find a way back into this game, and hey, if you're going to have to find it, Baron fights are always where it's worth.
Teleporting in, they're going to try and fight it, and I don't blame them to AXIZ. This is a last gasp, the last chance saloon, in fact. They'll have to see whether they can pull out the shots required to win this gun shootout. Baron down to about half HP. That's the trouble bubble, though, into the tri-brush. DFM stepping forward, looking for the magnet storm. Lots of HP that goes down already. Graves is dead to Utapon. Ebby is low as well, but it's a double, and it's on to Honey of all people. DFM are running over this fight. Triple kill to Utapon, who gets the Gnar to follow it all up. And they're going to keep running as there's the Quadra in for Utapon. There's a Penta on the line if they can catch this cow. But he's just so fast, he's running back to the fountain. He doesn't want to give DFM the satisfaction. And instead, they'll look to try and turn around and end this game. They want to get this so badly. I don't know how doable this actually is. There's a couple kills that the turret gets. It's an execution of all things. It's not even the Alistair getting it, but DFM do secure victory. Even if it was a little bit of fun right there at the end of it all.
FocusMe showing that they are the superior veterans, but also that they're having fun with all of this cowbell. This song needed more cowbell. No, this game needed more cowbell initialize. And I think that's all the cowbell I can have for now.
Indeed. We'll take a little break, and when we come back, we'll break down DFM's pretty stratospheric victory against AXIZ here. Go absolutely nowhere. We'll be right back.
So I'm going to go turn that mic back on and actually start that again. Hello, welcome back. This is the post-game for DFM AXIZ, where DFM did take down AXIZ in a team fight fiesta from DFM, and it all started in that top lane. So Initialize, going over to you. This is another game where Ebby got 3 early kills on Akali of all champions.
Yeah.
So I'm initialized, right? Because I'm in the middle at the moment.
I hate this. Every time I switch to this scene, it actually randomizes which one of your cameras it is, and I you know what? I'll deal with that. You know what? We're back. We're good.
Well, I as Masked Swan also initialize Man of Many Faces. That's why he's the Masked Swan. He gets to switch who he is around. It's kind of in the name. Either way, tech issues aside, yeah, it was pretty good up in that top side. This time, it was Akali hitting level 6 again before the top laner, but this time Ebby does get the kill under tower. Doesn't burn any summons. Did die to the tower after he accidentally autos the tower instead of the Gnar, which was a bit awkward, but either way did come away with that early kill. He'd already been zoning off the Gnar from the wave, and it kind of got worse there for Inno, because just a few minutes later, Arya and Steel turn up, and Ebby gets a double kill under the tower straight after, which is not a good look early for AXIZ.
Some good tower aggro juggling as opposed to Ebby's first blood kill, where he auto attacks a tower and chooses death. Some better skill shots come out in that dive, and they do of course get that 2 for none. On the other side, it was Honey for the for AXIZ though. I was about to say the Hawks. I'm just so used to seeing Honey on that team, but of course Honey leaving that team, coming onto his new abode, gets pretty fed on Vayne, and a lot of that was picking off Kazu on the bot side of the map. Lexi, this is one of the players which you've talked a lot about over our broadcast throughout this last year. How did Honey really perform to you this game in the early game?
Early game was actually really solid by Honey. We saw a few really nice shots. When the bot lane had problems, I would argue it wasn't really Honey's full fault. It was kind of maybe more of a map dynamic problem, or multiple members of the enemy team coming down to me, not me being able to do much about it. So Honey actually performed up to my expectations. He kept a very competitive CS score against Utapon for at least the first 150 CS or so of the game, which is basically covering the laning phase. He was equal with Utapon. That's all you can really ask, except that Honey sometimes tries to out CS everybody in the league. So honestly, I was more than happy with it.
Yeah, so the early game, split map. We had the Ebby on the Akali really far ahead for DetonatioN FocusMe, but the Vayne pulling ahead of the Kai'Sa, at least in the early phases. But then this one mid lane fight happened where a pick onto Rel didn't really work out. We saw an Alistair combo, we saw a tumble forward, but then a Magnet Storm into the team. Rel goes down, but the rest of DFM have rallied and take the fight. Initialize, this Vayne didn't really get enough done, and actually Utapon managed to pop off a bit. What happened in this fight for you?
So, kind of setting the scene, of course, DFM managed to come out to an early 2,000 gold lead at 10 minutes, but the Hawks, not the Hawks, sorry, that's what I get for thinking about Honey. I've done exactly what you did.
Exactly what I said.
But what AXIZ managed to do is hold that gold lead kind of stable at that for quite a while, and we're starting to feel, well, maybe Kazu's overstepped a couple times. We can try it again here in the mid lane. They engage onto the Rel, headbutt him back out, but it just sets him up for a really good Magnet Storm, which gives him his aftershock. And yes, the Rel does fall, but it's already caused a lot of damage, at which point Utapon gets to go in with the Killer Instinct. Gale forces forward to get a hold of the Gnar, so it's already a 1-for-1. And then the rest of DFM come in, and you've got this Akali who's still at full HP. You've got this Zoe who's starting to hit some very scary skill shots, and you burned so much to get into a pick and had it turn out in a 1-for-1 that the rest of the team fight is a bit of a wash at that point. Just too many summoners and too many ultimates available for DFM.
And too many tools, too many leads for DFM after that fight meant that actually just kind of went down to a barren fight, and the rest was, as we said before with DFM games, a bit of a formality. Lexi, was this game really ever in doubt after that point?
After that fight, no. The game was just DFM going through the motions. They had like an 8k gold lead, and I think I even mentioned on the broadcast to Initialize, I was like, well, they have a way of getting in if they can get an ace and get something else. Like, that's how far behind the team of AXIZ were at like the last 5 to 7 minutes of this game. yes, there were 5 or 7 minutes left of this game, but assuming DetonatioN FocusMe actually kind of escort their lanes in and do very simple standard things that we know this team can do, they were going to win. They decided not to. They actually decided to just go for the win as fast and as hard as possible, and I wouldn't have it any other way, diving the fountain at the end just to show how much dominance they wanted.
Dominance they wanted, and dominance they got. Only the quadra kill for Utapon at the end of that game. However, this will be the last time we will be seeing DFM ever. No, just for this week. We will be seeing AXIZ one more time versus Sengoku Gaming, who we saw earlier in the day. First game of our day, where of course they did end up beating Burning Core. They'll be going up against AXIZ, and it will be of course Initialize and Mass One, bringing you the cast back for that game too. So with all that said in mind, we're going to go give our voices a quick break. So stick around, and we'll join you then.